Hi, and welcome back to Neurobiology in 5 minutes or less. Right now, we are going to talk a little bit about the umami taste receptors. One thing to remember about our last video was the sweet receptors were part of a class C receptor. And this is really important because our class C receptors, there are two types of receptors that fall into this in our taste receptors. So we have our sweet receptors, and we also have our umami receptors. So in the next video, we're going to talk a little bit about how similar their mechanisms are and how both of these tastes have changed throughout different animals and evolved. For now, though, we're going to focus just on the umami. So the first thing that I'd like to talk about is actually the sweet receptor. So the sweet receptor, we have for our ligand binding domain, which is this area, we have the T1R2 on this side, and then over here we have the T1R3, okay? And then over here, this is our sweet. I should write that down. So this is sweet. And over here on our right side, we're gonna have our umami. And when we're looking at similarities, right, we can see this one right over here is exactly the same, and this one is different. So this one, we actually have the exact same receptor of the T1R3 receptor, but over here, we have our T1R1, which we did not have before. Before that was the T1R2, and this is our umami. And so this is just something to keep in mind, that the reason why we have these differences in terms of how these two are reacting, because once we look at the mechanism, it becomes very clear how similar these are. The reason why these are reacting differently is because they are binding different types of molecules. So because we have the T1R1 versus the T1R2, we are binding different types of molecules with different conformations. So that's why we're tasting different flavors with those. Right? And so just to look at umami before we get into it, our umami flavors, it's, as we know, one of our 5 basic tastes. It is derived from the word in Japanese meaning savory or deliciousness. So this is our sense of savory, if that makes any sort of sense. And this actually, where we were talking about like how the other sweet receptors, how they are dealing more with different sweet molecules, so that could have been alcohols or different types of sugars or even artificial sweeteners. This one is dealing a lot with acids and amino acids and glutamate. So these are a lot of our protein-based nutrients, and these are a lot of things that we're going to see in different meats, cheeses, and other protein-heavy foods. And one thing that's really important is that we have our L amino acids in this group. That's what this is sensing. So these are all of the things that are really important for learning about the sense of taste and umami. And these different protein things, right, are attracted by the T1R1 versus our sugars and our sweeteners. Those are attracted by the T1R2. And that's why these two are tasting different things. So in the next video, we're going to talk a little bit more about the mechanism of these two. I'll see you there.